Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So let's begin our session with the wonderful quote. Creative and quantum thinking are like parallel universe of the mind where the possibilities are endless and the boundaries are meant to be pushed. Greetings of the day. So for starting a new chapter of learning, I Priyanka Patel being your host of the event today's event want to extend a warm greetings and good evening to all of you present here. I hope you all are doing well. Creative and quantum thinking both defy traditional boundaries. Creativity is the art of connecting ideas and concepts in novel ways, while quantum thinking draws inspiration from the mysterious world of quantum physics to encourage exploration of multiple possibilities simultaneously. These two concepts celebrate the boundless potential of the human mind, break free from conventional patterns, fostering innovation and groundbreaking ideas. In essence, they invite us to embrace the unknown, think non-linearly, and unlock the limitless potential of our imagination. On the behalf of the whole SEMS family, I welcome you all for today's international webinar on creative and quantum thinking. And to add our guest of honor and today's speaker, Mr. Felix Duilemi, it is a great honor to have you with us, sir. We are grateful for your presence here with us today. Now, let me give a brief introduction to the Mr. Duelemi to all. Mr. Felix A. Duelemi is the principal consultant to Tremendous Consulting and the creator of Phenomenon 1000 Multiples Results Coaching Program, an extraordinary coaching program for individuals and organizations who desire to move from incremental results to exponential results. He is the author of award-winning How to Borrow God's Brain to Succeed.
Yeah.
15 other books on success, leadership, and motivation.
So we are looking at creative and quantum thinking. But let me say that this is not a quantum physics class. We just want to borrow ideas from quantum physics in order to improve the quality of our thinking. Okay, so basically what are we going to be covering in this webinar? We'll be looking at what is creativity. We'll also be looking at key aspects of creativity. We'll be looking at creative tools. We'll also be looking at the application of creative thinking. And then we'll be looking at what is quantum thinking. Then key aspect of quantum thinking and the application of quantum thinking. So let's start. What is creativity? What is creativity? We look at what is creativity. Of course, there are several definitions of creativity, and I don't want to bore us with several definitions of creativity, but let's just look at what creativity is in a way that is relatable. Creativity is the ability to generate innovative ideas. Pay attention to innovative ideas and solutions by approaching problems or challenges from new perspective, or deliberately move away from what is. Okay, now let's look at that. Creativity is the ability to generate innovative ideas and solutions by approaching problems or challenges from new perspectives. Why do we need to approach problems or challenges from new perspectives? It's the way our mind is organized. Our mind is organized to form a pattern. For instance, if you do something regularly, your mind forms a pattern of it. If you're solving a problem in a certain way, your mind forms a pattern of it. This is the root cause of what is called habits. Whatever you do regularly becomes an habit. Most times, our creative response or thinking is formed by habits. When you have a problem or challenges, you have tendencies to approach that problem the way you've approached it before. And of course, if you do what you've been doing before, what do you get? You get the same results. It was Albert Einstein who said that the definition of insanity is to do the same thing the same way and expect different results. So creativity is a breaking away from pattern thinking. You breaking away from pattern thinking in order to look at problems from a new way. from a new perspective, and in order to come up with innovative ideas and solutions. Of course, it is not just about problems. Creativity is not just about problems. Creativity is about looking at what you are doing and asking yourself, is there a better way I can do it? Is there a better way to make this work? Is there a better way to serve my customer? Is there a better way to treat people? Is there a better way to become a better speaker? So creativity, most times, don't wait for problem to happen. Creativity generates solutions and come up with alternatives, even when there's no problems, right? So let's look at key aspects of creativity. Okay, let me quickly say there's difference between creativity and creativity. Okay, creativity is not creativity. And what is the difference? Creative ideas must generate values. So creativity is concerned about value creation, about value generation. So in creative thinking, the end result is value. Creativity is not being different for the sake of just being different. Differences must lead to creation. Creativity is being different from the sake of being different without leading to value. Of course, creativity can lead to creativity when there's value creation. Now, I need to say that people don't buy ideas, people buy values. So creative ideas must lead to values. However, in creativity, every idea has potential to generate a value. In other words, when you engage in creative process, you are looking for the value of your ideas. And this is where creative tools, creative techniques comes in to help you to harvest the values of your ideas. Key aspects of creativity. What are the key aspects of creativity? Number one, we are looking at open-mindedness. Every creative thinker or creative person must be open-minded. Open-mindedness simply means being open to new ideas, being open to alternatives, being willing to stop yourself and ask yourself questions, being willing to question existing paradigm, being willing to question what is working in order to generate new ideas. Genius is born by just deliberately withdrawing from what is normal and then look at things from different perspectives. This was what created Tesla, created Albert Einstein, created Galileo Galilei, created some of the Leonardo da Vinci. Many of the world's greatest thinkers become what they became by their willingness to be open to new ideas. So open-mindedness is a key aspect of creativity. Another aspect of creativity is imagination, ability to imagine new possibilities, ability to imagine new alternatives, ability to see opportunities where there are problems. Imagination. Look, for instance, Tesla came up with great products by imagining himself being in the future and creating different realities. So imagination is the key aspect of creativity. Most times, school don't teach us how to harness our imagination. School teaches us more about using our memory, recall, reverse, right? More than imagine and see possibilities. And this is why most times people come out of school and lack the capacity to create, to generate ideas and generate solutions and create businesses and services. Okay, now let me quickly mention the difference between creativities and innovation. It's like somebody asked the difference between creativities and linking it to innovation. Now, creativity is idea generation. Innovation is marketing of ideas. Creative ideas must lead to innovation, because at the end of the day, if your creativities don't lead to idea generation, then you are wasting your creative effort. So creativities must lead to idea generation. Okay. The other aspect of creativity is curiosity, affinity for knowledge, affinity to ask questions. Like Albert Einstein, Albert Einstein was able to come up with the theory of relativity, for instance, by imagining himself riding on the beam of light. That was what brought the theories of relativity, curiosity. And then when you lose your curiosity, you start dying. And in a world where information rate of change is faster than the speed of light, we just have to be curious in order to develop our creative potential. The other aspect of creativity is risk-taking. And this is very key, very important. In vertical thinking, you are concerned about rightness, what is right and what is wrong. In creativity, you are not concerned about rightness, you are concerned about richness. In creativity, you are not seeking certainty. In creativity, you are seeking possibilities. And that allows experimentation. That allows entertaining possibility for failure. In fact, failure becomes fuel for success. So in creative endeavor, people are not punished for making mistakes. In fact, mistakes are welcome. People are rewarded for making mistakes. Of course, I have to mention school system again. School punishes us for making mistakes.
Yes, sir.
But life. So the more mistakes you make, the more you triple the rate of your success. Somebody said, if you don't make mistakes, you won't make anything. So creativity gives accommodation for risk-taking. And of course, when you talk of creativity, you are taking limits of your thinking. You are taking limits of your life, and you are giving yourself permission to fail, permission to invent, permission to explore, permission to move, permission to do extraordinary things. That is what creativity does. So when you take a creative journey, when you embark on a creative journey, you are actually embarking on a journey of freedom. You are freeing yourself from the constraints of limited thinking. Now let's look at the last aspect we'll be talking about is flexibility. Creativity allows you to be flexible, unlike what is called rock logic. Rock logic, you are concerned about certain end. You come to an end and you said, no, I can't move again. But in creativity, every end becomes a starting point. Every end becomes a starting point to think. Every end, there's no dead. Okay, let me say that. Let me put it in a clear time. In creativity, there's no dead end, because every end is a starting point for ideas cross-fertilization, for ideas breeding, for generating novel ideas and concepts. So you are flexible. Your goals and the pathway of achieving it is not rigid. If it does not work this way, there are millions of other pathways to get things done. So creativity allows flexibility. Now let's look at few creative tools. Okay, some of these creative tools were developed by Edward Dibono. And before Edward Dibono passed on, I had opportunity to relate with him on one-on-one basis. And so I quite appreciate the work of Edward Dibono, and many of these creative tools came from him. Okay, and what is the essence of creative thinking tools? Creative thinking tools gives us the ability to develop the quality of our creative thinking, gives us the quality to develop the richness of our ideas. Most times people want to think, but they don't have the resources to think. In fact, it's been said, some people will rather die than to think. Why? Because thinking appears to be hard work. But when you get creative thinking tools, it helps you to simplify the thinking activities. So because of our time, I might not be able to go into the nitty-gritty of all of this creative thinking. Of course, I have written some articles that if you are interested, I might send them to you after this webinar in order to explore more. Now let's look at PISCO. What does PISCO stand for? PISCO is an acronym and a creative thinking tool that is used for problem solving and decision making. And what does it really mean? P stands for purpose. In other words, every creative section or creative activity must have an ending point. What are we going to achieve? So there must be purpose. Thinking must have a purpose. That is what is called structured thinking. Perhaps in your organization, you want to think about how do we increase sales? How do we boost employee morale? There's a purpose to that. There's a purpose to that. So without purpose, thinking becomes unguided exercise. So P stands for purpose. What is the purpose of this thinking? For instance, this webinar. What is the purpose? The purpose of this webinar is to improve our thinking. The purpose of this webinar is to give us the knowledge of creative thinking and innovative and quantum thinking. So we are looking at purpose. Of course, in P stands for purpose, and I stand for input. Input stands for what information is available, what do we need to achieve this purpose. And then this is where we can use OPV. OPV is another creative thinking tool. It's part of what I mentioned here. OPV stands for other people's view. Input from employee, input from suppliers, input from social media, input for everybody that can help us to increase the richness of our ideas. For instance, if we take a decision based on your own knowledge alone, your decisions might not have the richness, the quality, the vibrancy that it requires than when you take samples, opinions, you consult experts, mentors, friends, colleagues, internet, and in order to boost the qualities of your ideas. So I stand for input, then S stand for solution. Now, having gathered inputs, you have multiple solutions. Creativity allows for multiple solutions. You are not concerned about just getting one straight-jacketed solution. In fact, in creativity, there's no one solution. Or what we have in creativity are possible solutions. So you are not rigid about solutions. You want to harvest as many as possible, as possible solutions, and so that you can have enough choices, so that you can, from the solution, you can arrive at C. C stands for choices. So you can make choices based on different solutions, and your choices now is informed by different perspectives, by the richness of different ideas that you have been able to generate from the input you've gathered. And of course, O stands for operancy or operation. Creative exercise is not complete until action is taken. For instance, maybe at the end of this webinar, you have a purpose. You want to start an online business, and then input. What do? You gather several input on how to start online business. And from there, you are able to harvest multiple solutions. Because there are multiple solutions of starting online businesses. Okay, then from that multiple solutions, you arrive at a choice, and the choice is out of many online businesses where we have affiliate marketing, where we have coaching and consulting, where we have where is it called, subscription services, where we have e-commerce, and then we have blogging. So at the end of your creative process, you make a choice that you are settling for blogging because it's easy to start. It requires little or no capital to start. But if your thinking do not lead to action, you have wasted your creative effort. At the end of your creative exercise, you have to build your website and create your first article on your blog. That is when you have succeeded. That is Pisco anyway. Now let's move to Scamper. What is Scamper? Scamper is a creative thinking tool for ideas generation. Just like Pisco is for problem solving and decision making, Scamper is for ideas generation. And I told us that creativity is about generating ideas and looking at the values of ideas. No idea is stupid until you harness the values of it. So we look at Scamper. The S stands for substitute. You have products and services you render. What aspect of this product can I substitute for other? Substitute. C stands for combine. What aspect of my products or my services can I combine together? A stands for adapt. What part of this product can be adapted into another part? M stands for modify. What part of this products or service can I modify so that I can come up with something new? P stands for put to other use. What part of my product or service, or even in my home, that I can put to other use. I think this is what comes with the ideas of A and B, and some other creative, innovative companies like that. P stand for put to other use. E stand for eliminate. What part of this product can I eliminate so that I can come up with something new? I will stand for reverse. What if I reverse the way I do things? What if I put what's supposed to be in the front and put it in the back, or put it in the side way? How would it change my products? How can it bring something new? Now, let me say this, that when you use Scamper, you deliberately go for creative hunt. There's no reason for you to go on that hunt. You just want to do it. You just want to see if you can come up with something new. And of course, there's no way you apply Scamper that you will not generate new ideas. I've done that in my house. I rearrange when I look at the way I set the furniture in the house. After a month, I try to rearrange. What if I put this one in that place and put this other one here? And then what do I come up with? Your products, perhaps there's a picture. What if I substitute this picture and put it in another picture? What do I come up with? In my service, what if I arrange the way I do things? What if I put this product into other use? Now, what this does is to cause what is called deliberate mental perturbation. You are deliberately perturbing and rearranging and restructuring the structures of your brain, because the brain is not wired to be creative. The brain is wired to be organized. So except there's a deliberate attempt for creativity, your brain will never come up with new ideas. Okay, let's look at APC for instance. APC stands for alternative, possibilities, and choices. Alternative, possibilities, and choices. So in creativities, you are looking at alternative. Even when you have got the best ideas, you are still looking at what alternatives can I come up with? What are possibilities? What are choices? In other words, creativity allows you to broaden your mind and look for alternatives, look for possibilities. So at the end of the day, your idea is rich. Your product is valuable in the eyes of consumers. Why? Because you consider all options. Okay, EBS. What does EBS stand for? EBS stands for examine both sides. Of course, in creativities, no one side is perfect side. So you examine both sides. Unlike traditional thinking, where it is my way or highway, or my way or no way. In creativity, you take enough time to examine both sides. Perhaps there might be values in what this person is talking about. Perhaps these other ideas might improve my thoughts, or these other ideas might improve the qualities of these services. So EBS stands for examine both sides. And then OPV. OPV, like I've mentioned before, stands for other people's view. What is other people's view? What do you think? What do you think? The CEO is not afraid to ask the gate man, what do you think about this idea? The manager is not afraid to ask the low-level employee, what do you think about this idea? Cross-fertilizations of ideas are allowed, and everybody is important. Okay, let's look at PMI. PMI simply stands for plus, minus, or interesting. In other words, some ideas might have plus, that is, you immediately see the value of that idea. And then some ideas might have negative, minus. In other words, you see why these ideas might not work. But language does not give us the middle ground. For instance, high, low. But we can have between high and low, we could have something in between. That is the middle of it. In creativity, ideas might not be positive, ideas might not be negative or minus, but that same ideas can be interesting. So that is why you don't judge ideas, you consider ideas. In creativities, please, I want you to pay attention to that. You don't judge ideas, you consider ideas. Because ideas that might be negative might end up becoming interesting. Okay, Now, let's look at the other one. I just hope that I still have enough. Okay, my time. Okay, let's look at Six Thinking Hats. Six Thinking Hat was a very good thinking tools for cross-fertilizations of ideas, decision making, and ideas generations. Of course, Six Thinking Hat stands for the white hat, right? Okay. Put on your metaphoric hat now. Put on your white hat. When you put on your white hat, you are looking at what information is available. What information is available? What do we have here? And of course, everybody is allowed to bring in facts, data, informations, opinions. That is in a brainstorming section or creative thinking section. Everybody is allowed to wear the white hat. Of course, the white hat is worn or should be worn by every participant in the creative exercise. For instance, if 6 of us are thinking about why are people not buying our product, all of us put on our thinking hat. But instead of all of us putting on different thinking hats, we all put on white hat. And when we put on white hat, we are looking for information. Why are people not buying? And everybody suggests ideas. Everybody come up with opinions. And then after that, the leaders of the creative thinking section and said, oh, we are done. Okay, let us put on the yellow hat. Now everybody put on the yellow hat. And when we put on the yellow hat, we are looking at what are the opportunities. What are the opportunities that we have been able to generate? Or what are the values of these ideas? Perhaps somebody has suggested, let's go on massive social media campaign. Another person has suggested, let's reach our consumer on one-on-one basis. Another person has suggested, let's go on TV commercials. Another person has suggested, let's meet them where they hang on social media. And so at the end of that white hat exercise, we put on the yellow hat. And when we put on the yellow hat, all of us are looking at what are the values of these different ideas. Remember, in traditional thinking, somebody was saying that how can we foster creative thinking in workplace? I saw that question the other time. Somebody asked, well, how can we foster creativities in workplace the other time? And by using Six Thinking Hats, we can foster creativity in the workplace. You know, in traditional setting, ideas, people don't consider ideas. People are quick to judge ideas. People are quick to see the negativity in ideas. People are quick to see why ideas will never work. But when you use Six Thinking Hats, everybody is allowed to talk. Everybody is allowed to come up with ideas. And nobody is allowed to judge any idea because the hat does not make provision for judgment until we put on the black hat. Okay, so we move from the yellow hat and we put on the black hat. When we put on the black hat, it is called adversarial thinking. That is where we look at the black hat stand for the devil's advocate. All of us are criticizing and looking at why these ideas will never work. So when we put on the black hat, it is put on by everybody. Everybody is looking at the problem the same way. This allows for parallel thinking instead of adversarial thinking. So since all of us are looking at that problem the same way, then nobody will judge another person because we are all looking in one direction at that problem. Okay, when we look at the black hat, we are looking at why this problem will not work. What are the obstacles? What are the hindrances? Then from there, we said, oh, the leader of the thinking process said, oh, we are done. Then let's put on the green hat. When we put on the green hat, what are we looking at? We are looking at escape from pattern thinking. Because you know what? Most of our judgment or perception is influenced by our past thinking pattern. And even your best judgment is as a product of the paradigm you have formed in the past. So when you put on the green hat, it's an escape hat. You deliberately move from routine and said, let's look at these ideas. Let's look at this problem from another way. We have seen possibilities. Now we have seen reasons why this will not work. By putting on the green hat, we are looking at options, and the options are not limited to the past. In fact, it was Edward de Bono that said that if we don't learn from the past, we are doomed to repeat the errors of the past. In the same way, if we learn from the success of the past, we are doomed to be caged by what worked in the past. In other words, what worked in the past might not work in the future. Do you know now, by the arrival of AI, that all of us have become students? Because what worked in the past is no longer working. The paradigms of the past is no longer working. So Green Hat allows you to say, I am starting afresh. I'm looking at these problems in a completely different way. And at the end of the day, the leader of the thinking exercise put on the blue hat. The blue hat is for decision making, because at the end of a creative exercise, decisions must be made. Creativities must lead to action. And what the thinking hat has done is to allow us to look at the problem from all the angles so that we can make effective decisions. Okay, because of time, I have other materials on this. But because of time, let me quickly talk about Tolopo-Sogo. Tolopo-Sogo is another creative thinking tool for decision making and also problem solving. To stands for to where are we going? To where are we going? That talks about direction. Where are we going? And then low stands for look at the facts. What are the facts available? And of course, when you look at the Tolopo-Sogo drawing, you will see like it's more like L. The TO stand at the top, then the low stand at the middle of that I of the L tree. The toe stand the low stand for look. What do we get? That is when you look at the different facts about the problems and all of that. Then you look at Po. Po is explorative thinking. So at the moment of Po, the line break. You choose to move in different angles. Unlike vertical thinking. Vertical thinking is A must lead to B and then B leading to C. In creative thinking or lateral thinking, A leading to C is a possibility. A leading to D is a possibility. And A leading to A is another possibility. So Po allows you to explore. Of course, you are not judging yourself because you are allowed to fail in creative exercise. And then when you look at Po, you look at different options. That is why you can use APC, alternative possibilities and choices, EBS, OPV, then you look at PMI. You can use all of these things to explore your ideas. Then at the end of the day, you move to so. So what have I got? And then you move to go. Where do I go from here? Of course, you know that every creative exercise must lead to an action. Of course, and when you take a creative action, it will lead to an innovative end. Because at the end of the day, creativity leads to innovation. They work together. So by taking creative action, you are creating innovative end or innovative path. Of course, the last one I'm talking about is FFM. FFM is a creative thinking tool generated by me, my humble self, and it stands for Fun Finding Mission. Fun Finding Mission. In other words, thinking can be exercised in finding fun. Of course, I was told that Albert Einstein has a very good uncle and the way Albert Einstein's uncle taught him mathematics was a different way entirely from the way people talked about mathematics. That was what Albert Einstein, a genius. The uncle's name is called Jacob, and he taught Albert Einstein to solve mathematics problems by seeing mathematics problem as a game. So that way, every time Albert Einstein solving mathematics, he sees that it's solving a game. And so it makes life interesting. So when you are doing creative exercise, you are not working, don't make it as a chore or a work. Creativity can be fun. Let me just think. Let me come up with new ideas. Let me come let me make a new. So of creativity. Okay, Now let's look at application of creative thinking. We've mentioned application of creative thinking in problem solving. You can solve problem differently and come up with wonderful alternatives by using creative thinking. For instance, let's look at this problem. Why are people not attending I have a problem, and the problem is my meeting. People are not attending my meeting. So I state my problem this way. Why are people not attending my program? Why are people not attending my program? That is a problem, right? And it's stated. Now, in creative thinking, you can state that problems in different ways to allow different ideas. I can come up with, instead of stating that problem, why are people not attending my program? I can state it this way. Why are my programs, or why is my program not attracting people, right? Now, when I change and form that question in a different way, it opens up a different perspective. Now, if I've addressed the problem by why are people not attending my program, it might appear that the people are the problem. But when I change the problem this way, why is my program not attracting people? That changed my focus. Then I'm going to focus on what can I do more in order to attract people to my program, rather than focusing on what to do so that people will attend my program. Now, that is a way of looking at that problem. So creativity allows you to look at your problem from different angles, not from a closed-minded angle, but from a very broad perspective. Of course, creativity also leads to innovation by deliberately using Scamper, for instance, by substituting different aspects of your products or your services, by combining them with different aspects, by adapting it to what is working in other industry, by putting some aspect of the product to other use, by eliminating some unnecessary aspects, or by rearranging different aspects of your products or services. You come up with something innovative. And of course, the same thing can be rearranged in thousands of ways. So the ability to generate innovative ideas, innovative concepts are unlimited. Now, creativity can also help us in conflict resolution. For instance, putting on the thinking hat will reduce conflict in creative sections. Instead of antagonistic section, we have collaborative section, where all of us are looking at this problem the same way. And then we can move from, after looking at it the same way, we'll move to another hat, and all of us look at it the same way. And then move again from there, and all of us look at it from different way. I was studying the Israel and Hamas war, and I was listening to different perspectives, I think yesterday, and I told myself that as long as Israel holds this position and the Palestinians hold this position, there is no going to be end to this conflict, except they come together. And of course, this I'm just using this as an example. I'm not an expert in that area, but I'm just using this as an example. Now, when Israel and the Palestinians and Hamas and all this war, and we begin to look at the problem from the same angle. For instance, Israel paused and said, "Oh, let's look at this problem from the angles of Hamas," and then they look at all the things these people are saying, and then they'll say, "Oh, there might be values in what they are saying." And then after they've looked at that, then they pause, they put on another thinking hat, where everybody look at the same problem from the angle of Israel. And that by that way, at the end of the day, everybody is going to arrive at a solution that is mutually agreed upon. So until we have that kind of system in place in organization, and we have that system in place even in our homes, conflicts will increase when we are supposed to dissolve and resolve them. Okay. Now let's look at web creation. Creativity can be used in web creation. Of course, every idea has potential to generate millions. Look at Facebook, look at Google, look at LinkedIn, look at WhatsApp. All these are products of ideas. They are products of ideas. So each time you sit down to think, You are generating money, like the man who wrote The Acre of Diamonds, that everybody is sitting on his own acres of diamonds. I say that everybody is sitting on his own multi-billion-dollar ideas. Creativities allow us to come up with an ideas, concept that can turn the world around, that can turn our finances around, and that can change our lives. All we need to do is the willingness to sit down and use our mind. It was Edward de Bono that said, "You got a beautiful mind. Don't waste it." So we have capacity to sit down and use creative processes, and creative tools to come up with ideas and generate solutions. Okay, because of time, let me quickly rush to what is quantum thinking. Okay, if you are still with me, can I see a thumbs up? Okay, let's look at what is quantum thinking. Of course, quantum thinking draws inspiration from quantum thinking. Please, I'm going to address the questions at the end so that I can concentrate. Okay. Quantum thinking draws inspiration from quantum physics. Quantum physics is a very fascinating study. I love quantum physics, and the more you study it, the more you love it. Of course, quantum thinking is the idea that from the behaviors of quantum behaviors or subatomic particles, we can draw a thinking process from it. So quantum thinking is unusual thinking. Quantum thinking is common sense, exponential, big thinking. So when you cultivate a quantum thinking mindset, you are cultivating on common sense thinking, exponential thinking, and big thinking. For instance, what we are used to in goal achievement is setting SMART goal. That is the traditional way of achieving our goals. SMART, of course, specific, measurable, SMART A. What is it? A. What is A in SMART now? The adaptable, right? Arrow stand for relevance, and T stand for time bound. So this is what we know. This is what is taught in major schools, Harvard, many of these Ivy League universities. This is what we know, that if I set a goal, I need to make it specific, I need to make it time bound, I need to make it relevant, I need to to measure it and all of that. But when you are using creative thinking approach, there's nothing smart about it. In creative thinking, what is a quantum thinking? You are focusing on possibilities. You are not focusing on incremental results. You are focusing on exponential results. This is what has been destructions in technology, destructions in media, destructions in medicine, destructions in virtually everywhere, because people are willing to think in an unusual way. So quantum thinking allow you to think unusually. Quantum thinking allow you to think with uncommon sense. Quantum thinking allow you to think exponentially and think big. Why is that important? It's important because when you go into quantum world, nothing is real. You can't predict the behaviors of atomic particles in a subatomic world. It's unlike the classical world, where events are predictable, where you can say when A plus B will lead to A plus B will lead to AB or A plus B. In quantum physics, what is open is possibilities. Nothing is real until an observer observes. So that makes you to remove the limits of your thinking and say possibilities exist. For instance, perhaps your organization made 30% turnover last year. You have tendencies to increase it to 50% this year, and say, if we can have 50% this year, then that would be a big result. At least that is 20% more than last year. And so when you think like that, you are using traditional method and say, of course, let's focus on incremental progress. But in quantum physics, you can move from 30% to 150%. You can move from 150% to 1,000%. No, that possibilities have been made possible in cryptocurrency. You have the tendency of one particular coin to rise almost 1,000% in a day, or 2 days, or 3 days, and then has that same tendency to come back to 0% the next day, right? So it's unpredictable. So when you are using quantum thinking lens, you allow your mind to go wide. You remove all the limits on your on your dreams. You remove all the limits on you and look at what is really possible. Okay, so let me talk about different aspects of quantum thinking. I think I will answer your questions at the end of this presentation. Let's look at the concept of QT, quantum thinking. You have entanglement, interconnectedness. These are quantum physics terms. You have superposition. You have objective and the parallel. How do we adapt that thinking? How do we adapt that organization? Entanglement, for instance, talk about particles entangled together, and then one behavior influences the behaviors of another particle. For instance, I'm giving a seminar. I'm in Nigeria, and my whole is in India. And so, if I go to my friend who invited me to speak here, that means that his actions in India affect my action here. His thought processes affect my thought processes, and whatever is happening to him is happening to me. Now, when you bring that to thinking, you are saying that we are actually interconnected. Our thoughts are interconnected with our emotion. What I think will influence what I feel, and what I feel will influence my action. In organization, no department is independent. Every department in every organization is interdependent. In other words, when you use the concept of entanglement, whatever is happening in finance department is affecting what is happening in manufacturing department. Whatever is happening in product development is affecting what is happening in HR. That will help that organization to foster connection. So when you apply the concept of entanglement in your organization, you are going to foster more connection, build empathy, and the behavior of one individual, the behavior of one employee in your organization will affect the entire system of your organization. Now, another concept is the concept of superposition. Superposition is the capacity of an idea or a system to in dimension or in opposite dimension, and yet they still coexist. In other words, a particle can have a negative aspect and have positive aspect, and they coexist together. In other words, you can look at it this way and then look at it this other way, and both possibilities can live together. So that broadens your thinking, that broadens your, and that argument. More times when people talk, they only argue. This person is to present his own idea rather than listening to the ideas of other person. And your idea and the idea of the other person can actually coexist together. That is superposition, and live together. So you can actually live with my own idea, and at the same time live with your own idea. I can live with my own idea without bringing my emotion into it. Okay, then the concept of observed effects. This is very interesting. In quantum world, like I said before, everything exists as a possibility. What you see is what you observe. Bringing that to your thinking, your perception affects your realities. When you start changing your perception, you change your realities. So quantum thinking will help you to change your perceptions of events around you, perceptions of your abilities, perceptions of what you can do, perceptions of people around you. Because what you see is not what is there. What is you see is as a result of your thoughts, your perception. Your perception actually creates that realities you see. And that will tell you that you pay attention to what are you perceiving, what are you thinking, what are you seeing, what are you imagining? Because at the end of the day, these are the things that form the realities around you. Then you look at the concept of parallel realities. Parallel reality says a particular event can exist in different worlds at the same time. What does that tell us? It means that if I'm broke today, there's a reality of me that is rich. If my business is not doing well, the concept of parallel realities also shows that same business is doing well in another world, right? If it's not working, that means that in another parallel world it's working. So that can make me to deliberately sit down and imagine myself doing well and believing that what I'm doing is actually existing in another world at the same time. Now, the concept of parallel realities will make you as a thinker to look at realities from different perspectives and say, perhaps the way I'm looking at this reality is not the only way to look at it. Perhaps there's other way of looking at it. And then let's look briefly at the applications of quantum thinking. Quantum thinking create exponential results. In fact, in my coaching programs that we call 1000 result coaching programs, I encourage my clients, don't think 20%, don't think 10%, don't think 50%, think 1000%. Because by thinking big, you expand the potentials of your mind. You expand your concept of what is possible, and you tap into the resources within you to generate unusual results. So quantum thinking is not about generating small results. It's about generating staggering, unbelievable results using uncommon method. Of course, destruction is another part of applications of quantum thinking, that you can bring destruction into what you are doing and say, I want to self-destruct what I'm doing. I want to deliberately do something entirely new. Because if you adapt the behaviors of quantum elements, you can't predict it. So you can use that method and say, let me do something unpredictable and cause destruction. Of course, next one is innovation. By the time you look at things, possibilities, and then you look at ideas coexisting, positive and negative ideas coexisting at the same time, it's going to lead to innovative solutions. Instead of the traditional way of looking at things and say it can either be A or B, now you start thinking that it can be AB. It can be A squared plus B squared. It can be A plus B plus B. Then it can be A squared plus B squared and plus A squared. So that actually expands your possibilities. And then the last one is empathy. When we know that we are interconnected, when we know that what happens to one happens to the other, when you know that your action affects another person, you'll be more empathic. You'll be more empathic in a team. For instance, what goes on in the life of one member of the team will affect what happens in the team generally. So a team that is using quantum mindset will be empathic. They will be empathic to the feelings of other people and to knowing what is happening in the lives of individual members of the team. So it will not just be about achieving goals alone. It will be trying to find a way of helping members of the team in order to solve their personal problem, so that together we can achieve productivity and get things done. So I will round up from here, and I will say that creativity and innovation is a lifelong process. It's not something we just do and forget about. It's something that you can put into immediate practice and put into immediate use and say, at the end of this webinar, what am I going to apply this knowledge on? What problem am I going to solve using creative thinking? What problems am I going to solve using quantum thinking? And of course, this is just like an introduction to this study. And because of time, we might not be able to explore all the possibilities. But I believe that this will give us a ground where we can explore further ideas on this concept. And I want to say thank you for inviting me. Okay. So I don't know if I can go into answering the questions now.
What a wonderful session it was. I hope our audience learned a lot of new things from this session. I would like to highlight some of the points, like how creative and quantum thinking are essential tools for navigating the complexities of our modern world. They empower us to innovate, adapt, and find meaningful solutions to the challenges we encountered, ultimately driving progress and success in various aspects of life. I hope the knowledge shared by Sir was very effective for everyone in the audience. Once again, thank you for joining us and sharing your valuable experience and knowledge with all of us. Sir, there are few questions we have to receive from our audience. So with your permission, shall we begin the question answer round?
Yes, I think we can go. Okay, can I go ahead and answer the questions now?
Yes,
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay, let me look at some of the questions here. Okay, please, I'm trying to go through the charts. Okay, somebody was asking, what are the benefits and drawback of merging creative and quantum thinking? And of course, if you follow my presentation, you will see that quantum physics aid creative thinking. They are interlinked, they are intertwined, they are interconnected. Quantum, when you are thinking quantumly, you are also thinking creatively, because you are entertaining possibilities, you are entertaining ideas that you normally wouldn't have looked at before. You are seeing options that ordinarily you wouldn't have seen. You are rephrasing problems in an entirely new way, and you are tapping into the genius of your mind. So they are connected, they are interconnected. Okay, so let me look at another question here. Is that somebody was saying, okay, is there any drawbacks? Is there any drawback to creativity? I don't see any drawbacks to creativity and quantum thinking.
Again, thank you all for attending today's webinar. And if you have any additional question, you can contact us by email or telephone. We are happy to provide additional support to you. Please follow on our social media and subscribe YouTube channel for new learning.